Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed AV podcast. My name is Joe Way. I am your host, and boy, do we have a good one for you today. I hope we have a good one for you today. This is one where I have no idea where this is going to go. Actually, I have a kind of an idea, but boy, this could go south or this could be incredible. And I actually think it's going to go toward incredible. All right, everyone, here's what's going on right now. This is a by popular-ish demand, okay? So as everyone knows, I ended last year's kind of podcasts with Amy coming on. You actually got to see a side of my personal life. Amy and come on the podcast, and we talked about kind of the last 10 years and what kind of got into my career. And since then, I've been getting a lot of people coming to me and saying, hey, how do I can't do you. I can't be you. You're the person. I'm like, oh, stop. You can. Okay. I was not the person you see in our industry this entire time. Trust me, I wasn't. And also I hear a lot of you say, oh, I've this imposter syndrome. How do I get out there? And how do I advocate for myself? And what do I do? Or I have this idea. I want to be able to do an XYZ, but I can't do it. And I'm starting to get these messages. And it all started from that Amy episode. And I've had this in the back of my head for a while, and it's calling to kind of shift the show and leverage my platform now in order to help you build your platforms. So what I'm doing over this next 6 weeks, okay, is I'm starting a series. It's not necessarily going to build upon each other, but they do have a theme. And the theme is Joe's a loser and is a failure. That's the theme. No, actually, well, like I said, it might go that way. We don't know. We're going to find out. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm bringing on people who I've known from the past. Some of you know a little bit about my past and where I've come from and how I've built, and some of you don't. So we're going to talk about that. I'm bringing in various people throughout my past. But then also we're going to kind of end with this, how to advocate for yourself, how to build your brand, what it means to all of that stuff, and coming out of a rebuild into this. So that being said, we are going to start with someone I knew back in my Texas days. So I know Texas days. That goes way back. As people may have known, I moved from, or maybe didn't know, from Ohio to Dallas for a business opportunity. I'm going to put that in air quotes, an opportunity that didn't quite go the way it was planned. So that being said, we are going to get into that. But first, let me welcome on our esteemed guest, Raul. Welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do now. We're going to get into how we met, but
Thanks, Joe. Great to be here. My name is Raul Cabrera, and I am the president of Miguel Studios here in Fort Worth, Texas.
all right. And Miguel Studios is a podcast studio, right? That's why you look better than I do. I'm
We,
like webcamming, and you're all pro on me here.
we are a podcast studio. It's really a content studio that anyone can come in and film content. And then the other half of our business is digital marketing. We help companies run their social media accounts for them, including all sorts of things: content creation, social media management, ads management, you name it, we do it.
Oh gosh, I can't wait till we kind of get to this part, because I think this is going to be a great. I can't wait to pick your brain on this. So all right, let's go back how we first met. So um, this would have been 2000. It was 2000
I
ish,
was going
right?
to ask you because I don't remember the exact year. I know that you're one of the few people that knew me and my wife in our early days, and we got married in 2003. So it had to be around that time frame.
Yeah. God, that's and your early. It's funny to hear you say early days. Oh my gosh. Okay, so so people might know that I had a life where I was a dance teacher, and some investors, some former customers of mine who are also investors who lived and worked for major corporation in Dallas. Um, had moved they moved down, I moved down with them to start, I'll call it a theme restaurant slash dance studio slash performance venue, kind of along the lines of like a Dick Clark's type of bandstand grill type of thing. um And in order to kind of get it going, I was doing dance lessons, and teaching in order to kind of supplement that while we were trying to build that. So that means that's how we met. You became in as a as dance students first, right? Um, so all right, so I have to go. What made you decide? Like, do you remember back there? Like, what made you kind of decide, hey, let's give this thing a try?
Yeah, it's very simple. My wife was doing it before I was, and of course, at the time, I'm pretty sure this is before we were married, so we were still
Mhm.
dating. And I really was going hard after this girl, and if she was taking dance lessons, then I was going to do it too. So that's the only reason I joined. I have no rhythm whatsoever, but I was flat out chasing a girl.
You know what? That may or may not be the same reason I started. Okay. And it turns out it works.
It
Okay.
does work.
It works. Um, so then, all right. Now, at that time, because this is where we're going to kind of get into the business. So we kind of went from, hey, student teacher to, well, you were working, was it Chili's at the time? Am I making that up?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow, the fact I remembered that.
I know.
Um,
It's impressive.
but we found out, and the details are, God, this is 26 years ago. This is crazy. Okay, so the detail, you were bartending, but you could do the throwing the
Yeah,
stuff around, and
yeah,
we did a routine where
yes.
we choreographed in you like doing the flare stuff with
I still
all
have
of
the
that.
video. In fact, we dug it up maybe a couple years ago and saw that again. Yeah.
Oh, man, if you can, I need that. That is awesome. So we choreographed that in. So you were I don't know, bartending at the time, managing, doing something, bar managing of that at one time, and I then mentioned to you, hey, we want to have this. We're trying to build this bar thing, and I'm sure it was no secret as to why I was down there to build that, and approached you. What were your thoughts when I said, "Hey, would you like to come in and bar manage with me or whatever?" Uh-oh. He froze. We got a frozen guest. We got a frozen guest. So, we're going to keep going. This is the part where I just pretend that the guest isn't frozen here. And we're going to see if he comes back because this is the content everybody comes for. We'll see. Oh, there we go. He's off and he will be back in a minute. So I have no idea how much he caught that. Do I edit this or do I not edit this? The rules say don't edit, but so I'm going to keep going with this. So he was doing, so he was working as the bartender. I needed a bar manager. I needed a, we needed to hire a chef. We needed to hire a bar manager. We need to hire, staff. We had to find locations. We had to do all of that type of stuff in order to kind of make all of this stuff work. Right. And so that was where when I found out that Raul was was a bartender and just an amazing person, I said, let's come on and let me have you come on with me and come on board and let's do this kind of project together. Uh, and so that's where I hired. Hey, oh, here we go. I see him. I see him. We're gonna add him to stage here, and he's probably we're getting him on. We're getting him on. It's got the we've got the spinny wheel of death coming up here, and yep, we got the spinny wheel of death. But we're gonna get him here. We're gonna get him in a second. We know it. We feel the internet is gonna be good for us. I feel it. I know it. Um, and I've got it. All right. Oh no, he's a spinning. He's a spinning. See, again, the quality content. But I'm going to keep talking about the experience. There we go.
I don't know what happened.
But you know what? I rolled with it. I was like, all of a sudden, his face didn't change, and he's there, and I'm like, so, how much of my question did you actually get?
We were talking about I worked at Chili's is the last
Yeah.
thing I
Oh,
heard.
that was it. Oh, I did such a great monologue after that. So,
Oh
all right. So,
no.
So here, no. So all right. So then, so the too long didn't read for you was then, of course, I needed to hire staff and or get people on board to help with this, and approached you as, hey, you would, I don't know, was official bar manager, whatever. I remember what title it was, but what was that like when I then kind of came in? Well, let's start with that side, and I approached you from there.
Yeah, so back then, I was in my early 20s. I was bartending for some time. Um, During my time at Chili's, I had also been a part of the training team and even helped open some stores. So there was a sense of, wow, well, maybe my career path is heading into restaurant management. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows, right? So when this opportunity came forward to be a kind of a bar manager, I thought that sounds like a great next step for my career. So
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. And I love, so to be honest, we didn't get very far into it, did we?
No, not really.
Because, well, I mean, and I think this is, I'm going to talk about a memory. So again, the too long didn't read people. A lot of things happened, namely, um, well, 9/11. I had my daughter. I didn't manage everything very well. In fact, I'd managed it poorly, very poorly. It was probably my first big opportunity. I mean, I did have my business I ran in Ohio, which was, obviously I did that well enough to secure an investor to sponsor me to go down there, right? So it wasn't that it was new, but this was a big, this we were looking at a $10 million kind of project all said and done. And I was 23 years old, I guess, at the time, something along that 23, 24. Um, with much bigger aspirations than I think I had ability for. You're shaking your head, so I'm going to stop there. Your thoughts on me, kind of at that time and stepping into this?
It's difficult to put into words because at the time I was young too, and so there's a lot of things that I didn't have the context for now that I've lived a couple of decades since, that
Hmm.
I can go back to and maybe see it through different eyes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Um, at the time, I was young, naive. I didn't have much to lose. So, I just remember the fact that we had a location, that we had a storefront in the meantime. I thought it was really cool and exciting.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's great. I'm glad to hear you see it that way. No, because and I did too. Like it seemed like everything was lined up until I would, if I look back, because I think it's the same thing when you retrospect it and you go, okay, there were so many things. We had the greatest, kind of investor and mentor there. And when things started kind of going south, I just kept hiding it and pretending it wasn't. And that I could then keep overcoming. Don't worry, I'll get this. And maybe that's kind of I do have that. Like I'm still that kind of person. I have a very high risk tolerance for failure, right? Like I can do it. I can do it. I can rebuild. I can do that. And I didn't realize, but I put a lot of people's lives at risk in doing that. Your livelihood, the livelihood of the head chef we brought in from Morton's, which I'm going to tell that story in a minute. And our investors, and I don't want to give people's names because I haven't got their permission to bring it here, so I'm not going to mention other people's names, but them, um, and my own family. Like I put so much of that into it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, again, maybe because of my young age and immaturity, I was probably blinded to anything that was going on behind the scenes, and certainly had no knowledge of anything happening that would be, you know, leading towards a downfall of any kind, except for when the day came that we had to shut it down. And I had at least a wherewithal to see that some people were taking it really hard,
Hmm.
and a lot of tears and pain. Did I feel that? No, I had nothing to lose. I could easily find another job making the same amount of money the next day, so it
Hmm.
didn't affect me the way it affected them. But
Yeah.
again, I think that goes to show that they were a little bit older, maybe further in their lives than I was. They had more to lose. Maybe they
Yeah.
sacrificed more to be there than I did. So I can understand why they were maybe far more upset than I was.
Yeah. And so, and obviously I have not kept in touch with them at all, like I've kept in touch with you. And yeah, so I guess for people to know, we brought in some of the top trainers from Morton's, and they moved all the way to Dallas for this opportunity to help build, help shape, with all the way down, help design the kitchen, help design the all of that stuff. Gave up a ton of their lives, and I still remember then having to go when the day we kind of shut it down, and his wife being in the driveway and saying to me, and it's words that have stuck with me. And it said, "You will, basically that Joe, you're the worst person on earth. You'll never get this, and you will never get that. Never be on the cover of Forbes. You're never going to be the successful person that you claim you think you can be." I still remember, like, again, the words get hazy, but the feeling when I say it, and that was to me is like, damn, I really impacted someone's life in this. Now, there were other factors, but I would say that 99% of it was because I just didn't face the negative when we had a support group who probably could have helped us navigate through it. Right? Like we could have probably gotten through it. I don't know. And I still remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the emotion that day. Obviously a lot of tears, a lot of anger, people losing money, and I now I understand as a 46-year-old man that would be very difficult to go
Yeah.
through. As far as the actual business and the concept, I think frankly it was ahead of its time.
Hmm.
Had the concept come out maybe during the rise of Dancing with the Stars, who knows?
Yeah.
That collision might have been something special. So, as far as the ins and outs as to why it failed, I don't know. However, maybe I just feel like it was probably a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah. And what's ironic is that packed up, moved back to LA where I was from, and launched the concept, and it was a success. So it's like,
I didn't know that. Did you?
yes.
I didn't know that.
It was, yeah. So a little more on the nightclub side than the full restaurant side, but with the dancing, with the performance venue, with all of that. And it was a success. So it's funny is hearing you say this because you're absolutely right. Too early. It took extra 5 years to build it out here, 4.5 years, 5 years. And also maybe that needed the right market too, right? That
Mm,
Hollywood market definitely helped, and having Dancing with the Stars, all of that kind of definitely helped.
yeah.
So that's a unique thing. So I actually want to go there because in our industry right now, I'm kind of known as the innovator slash bleeding edge person. I will do things before anybody else does. But it's interesting because that's my character. It was this great
Mm.
idea. We all jumped on, but too early. Can you expand on that? I don't even going to ask a question, but I think there's something there. Expanding on that with like, and you're an entrepreneur now, right? Having your own businesses. Like, how do you kind of
Yeah.
step into that? I want to lead the way, but where's that safety net?
Well, there should not be a safety net, and I think that's the key to being a successful entrepreneur. Because if there's a safety net, then you'll always have something to fall back on, and you'll never go 100%. Right? You said
Mm,
something earlier that I do want to kind of touch on, and that is the word risk. Right?
mm,
We have to successful entrepreneurs have to be completely not afraid of risk and have to take the risk when no one else will. I think that's what separates us from being successful versus those who just never try. And I've
mm,
been the guy who was too afraid to try. I've been that guy. I was that guy for years, you know.
mm,
So I think that when we do take risks, and sometimes there will be failures. Ask any entrepreneur, and they will probably tell you they failed more than once. But when failures happen, there will be collateral damage. That is not to diminish anything that anyone feels when things don't go their way, or they lose a lot of money, or they move halfway across the country for nothing. Doesn't discount that, but it's going to happen.
yeah. Wow. What a great perspective. So where do you then, just from your point of view, where do you draw that distinction? I think there's a difference between personal risk. I'm going to throw my stuff on the line if I have to start over, and knowing that once you bring other people into the picture, your decisions now do impact them. How do you kind of draw that distinction there?
Yeah, it's an extra weight that I feel when it now, when it's now the lives of other people. And in a way, it fires me up even more because I want
Mm,
to be successful for not only me and my family, but for them and their families.
yes. Yep. Absolutely. The thing is, I love that because I always say, I know that out of that moment there in Dallas was probably one of the most defining times because I never wanted that feeling again of having to look people in the eyes right there in front of me and say, "Yeah, I'm sorry. It's gone." Right. Now, doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Again, you launch things. Sometimes they're failures. But I just saw that pain. Like, I don't want that pain anymore. Or if I have an idea and I'm going to launch another business, I also want to let people know the risk up front. Here's what could happen. If we nail it, this is great. Let's all get on board, but it won't. So make sure that, and I'm going to be honest with you moving forward, that, hey, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to come when I see things going a different direction, and I've done that since then. Is okay, we are at a crossroads. Here's where we're at. And I think that was a difference. And that was my learning lesson back then, was thinking that I could solve it myself and I'm going to keep it. And then the next time I came into troubles, I went to the staff and said, here's where we're at. We're losing money right now. We got to either pivot the business and all get on board and move this way, or understand if we keep doing what we're doing, there might be a day where the doors close, and that's just the way it's going to be, right? And that honesty goes a different direct, holds a different weight, you know.
That's fantastic. I think it's setting the expectation for your staff or even your key leaders is huge because they have buy-in, especially
Hmm.
when you do need to make a pivot, whether it's something as simple as pivoting your marketing or you have to pivot your entire business model. When the expectations are set up front, then there's a little bit more buy-in from your key people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then because then they have having that ownership of it, right? So that and I think too, as leaders, it's also kind of our job to help our people through failures as well and help them through growth. It's not just always building up. Well, obviously that's important, and you want them to share in the successes. um, there's also something to be said about if we're going to develop the next generation of leaders, we need to bring them in on the challenges. Sometimes you got to open up the books or you got to open up behind the scene and go, this is the reality of what it takes to keep this thing going. Right. And I think there's a lot that can be done with that and bringing young leaders in and investing in them in that way. Right. Because it's not fair to them to think, oh, I came from this great thing, this great success, and they don't have any idea of really kind of what it took or what it takes on a day-to-day basis, right?
Right. And one thing that I find interesting is, over the years in various positions that I've had, I used to be that guy. I would just mow people down to maybe get what I want. I was really good at manipulating
Mm,
to rise to the top, this and that. And, now that I'm a place of a bit more maturity and, context under my belt, there are times I wish I could go back and just tell those people, I'm so sorry for
mm,
what I did. I didn't know. I was learning. I was stupid, but I know that I can't do that. I also
mhm.
know that all of these people that I probably, ran over and will hate me the rest of their lives, there was nothing I can do to fix that. No matter how successful I become, they're still going to hate me. And
Yeah.
so I can't let that bother me. I can't stew on that. I can't prove it to them. That's not what I'm here to do. If I do
Mm.
that, then I take my eyes off the prize completely.
Yeah. Oh, that is gold. Because I'll say that's a learning lesson for me because I don't know that I do. I still hold this in like, oh, maybe one day they're going to look on LinkedIn and go, okay, maybe it was worth it, but they won't,
No.
right? They're still going to just be like that jackass, went and did, he screwed me so that he can be successful now or whatever. Who knows what even they're going to think, right? Oh, that is
Exactly right.
yeah.
It's one of those little, cut ties type of things that helped me because I care a lot about people. I'm a people person. I never want to intentionally hurt people, but I know I have in the past.
Hmm.
And so I can't let that time me down. It's going to keep me from being successful.
Yeah. Oh, that is gold right there. Okay, everybody, that is the gold part, right? Just learn that because, and I think that that is very common. And I'm going to do on this. How do you then, I mean, cutting ties is one thing, but how do you now make sure that you don't make the same mistakes over again? Because there is a line. You can't just go, okay, well, that was it, whatever. There has to be some personal responsibility on those things too.
Absolutely. It's honestly, it's a daily thing to walk out, um, as a formidable leader, manager. There are days to even to in this venture that I'm in now, where I'll give you one. I'll tell on myself recently.
Uh-oh.
It was embarrassing. I was just leading a basic meeting on marketing strategies for Q2, right?
Hmm.
And I was really busy. I had forgotten about the meeting, so I didn't prepare for it. And so the meeting time shows up, and boom, I'm in the spotlight with nothing to say. And I think, well, I'm smart enough. I'll just wing it. I can wing it. So I started to wing it, and it was, excuse me for saying, the shittiest meeting I've ever been a part of, and I was the one leading it. It
Hmm.
was terrible. Um, Halfway through it, I realized how bad it was, and I just kind of stopped. And I said to all of the employees that were there, I said, I am so sorry, but I am not prepared for this meeting. And I held myself accountable. I
Hmm.
apologized for wasting their time. And I said, this is not good enough. I was not good enough today, and I'm so sorry.
See, that's good. And that's a sign of a leader. And you know what? In that moment, I bet they learned more about leadership than they could have learned. And they probably learned a lot about marketing than they could have if you actually had a meeting prep because there's something to taking that accountability.
You
Now,
know, you know,
go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but you know what it did is it kind of galvanized everything. And in that moment, we spent the last half of the meeting working together to kind of catch up what I was behind on. And we walked away with everyone having their hands in
Hmm.
the process. And at the end of it, yeah, was I hurt in my ego? Yes.
Yes.
But it was a really could not have ended better.
Yeah, I love that because what it really does is recognizes that the things that we do wrong, the things we fail, the things we could have, it how you handle it in the moment is what launches the next phase, whether it be a full life moment. I mean, obviously that's a single meeting, and that's right. But those we have a lot of little ones of those every day, every week, right, where we have those opportunities. But it's how you take it launches the next thing, and how people feel about you, and how they want to work with you. We see these memes all the time on social media, and I post them. I put them on LinkedIn, and I do all this all the time. Of it was my failures that built who I am, and all that stuff. And they sound good, but they are true. But it's not about failing; it's about how you leverage the failing. Some of it's internalized. Like I go back to the Dallas situation. There was nothing I could have done. I just split from it, but it changed me at the core to where I was more outwardly focused on the next one in the way, like your example just showed, right? In the future ones. And I think that that's just so huge. So now, as a leader, as an employer, as a business owner, how do you now help your team through like your staff are now going to struggle? You've got people who are new in their career, and they're going to make the failures we were talking about when we were young and naive. How do you now help them and guide them in through their learning processes?
Yeah, sure. We have a great mix of people with 20 years of experience in media production. And then we also have staff members who are in their 20s who are, it's their first like real job. And as excited as I was to kind of have that team dynamic, it's been more challenging than I expected to understand how the next generation works and operates, but also what they lack.
Hmm.
So it's been a lot of the EQ type things that has been lacking, that we've had to really be intentional about taking a moment to say, hey, when you say this, it comes across like this. And so I didn't anticipate having to teach EQ going into this, but it's a large part of what we do, especially with our younger staff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's kind of thing is we spend as leaders as more time managing the people, the emotions, the intelligence, the what were you thinkings than we do of actually here's the skills you need in order to build, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
um, so, all right, I know we're coming up to where I want to do the rapid round, but there's a big chunk of a similarity between us we have to bring up. We both went into ministry for a while and
Oh,
then
you did.
came out of ministry into, ironically, content creation. So there are three like together as like this bar thing. We both separate and go off and go into ministry, and then we all both come back and we're both creators, and so it's very ironic the kind of the this path. So yes, you really, I mean, we won't dwell on it, but a little bit. You were in ministry for a while, and how did that shape now what you're doing here?
Yeah, it was I was working for a software company. I was in marketing for a software company, and the company sold, and I had some free time, and we were going to a church here in town, and they asked me to serve, which I did. Um, they liked what I had to say, almost like outside voices and ideas. So that led to them asking me to join the staff. I didn't apply for anything. They just asked me to join the staff, and I did, and again, just kind of rose through the ranks. Oversaw a few different departments during my tenure there, and I was there for 11 years.
Wow. Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, it was long, and then after, to be honest, after about year 7 or 8, I had gotten the inkling that it was time to do something else. But this goes back to what I said earlier. I was afraid to.
Mm,
I was afraid to just leave and do something else, and so I stayed. And I frankly overstayed my welcome,
hmm.
to be honest. So after year 11, they finally said, "Hey, you're done. We're time to go." And of course, I was very upset about it, but it was the best thing ever because it
Yeah.
forced me to do what I should have done on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So, I mean, because I think there's a lot of similarities there. And did you feel the same? Like when I was in, worked in ministry, worked for the church for a short time. I've got, like a doctorate in theology and a master's in biblical studies, right? But isn't there like a guilt of saying, you know what? The working in ministry isn't for me. I can serve in another way. Like, did you have that same kind of like, it's wrong to think that and say that?
Well, I think my experience was, we were in a very affluent part of the town, and we were paid very well. Um, so it was hard to leave that. There was
Mm.
no there was no reason to leave that, right? However, it was putting a strain on my marriage. Go figure,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Working at a church nearly tore apart my marriage.
Samesies.
And my wife saw it, tried to tell me about it, tried to raise the red flag, and I just didn't see it. She couldn't even get through to me.
Mm.
So it really took until I was gone, did was now outside of the bubble and have clarity, and was like, oh my goodness, I am so
Yeah.
sorry. I neglected you during that season. It was
Mm.
it was hard.
Yeah, you know what? A very, very similar. And the thing is, I think we hear that story a lot too. And I don't think it's just church. I mean, I think it does because that you feel this call, like I have to serve the people. I have to do this. There's a certain like you feel like you have to do that, but that can also be normal business ownership too. That could be anyone in their 9 to 5 who's a workaholic, right?
Well,
That
especially as entrepreneurs, because you're probably like me. We're all in, guys. We go all in. There is no
Mhm.
half-ass, right? And
Yep.
sometimes that takes away from family time.
Yeah, yeah. So then from there, then how did you then decide? Okay, I'm going to go into content creation because you were doing social for a long time, and now you've opened up the studio, which looks like it's kind of that second phase of what you've been doing. So now talk about that transition into. So this is where I want to go, and then just How is that? This is your landing place. Talk about that bit.
Yeah. Yeah. When I left the church, I, just went back into marketing, and I just found a corporate job in marketing with a healthcare company. But I had always done freelancing on the side just for extra money here and there.
Mhm.
And, I had always said maybe the freelancing thing will grow enough and will take over. But it never will, because it's a safety net. It wasn't a focus, right?
Mhm.
So I went into corporate, and it wasn't long before we got hit by the sweeping layoffs. And so I found myself right back in the same boat. And that's when my wife and I had the serious conversation to say, look, we've been wanting to try this on our own for a while. I don't want to go back to LinkedIn and job hunt again. And it was with her agreement that we kind of said, let's do this.
Mhm.
Let's go all in. No safety net, no second option. This is it. And when it's this is it, you have to make it work. You
Yeah.
have to. There's another level of drive that kicks in
Mhm.
where you cannot fail. And that's where we were.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and it's so true. Once you flip that switch and you make the decision, like I always feel this too when I kind of go for my whatever I'm going to do. Once the decision's made, there's a different feeling, right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to put it into words, but it's like, okay, it's go time. There is no rethinking it. There is no okay. Well, going full circle to what you said earlier. There is no backup plan.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's navigate it, but there's no backup plan.
Yeah. So how
Uh,
we ended up here, we started doing just your basic web design, graphic design, branding. And a buddy of mine, I was at this point just trying to talk to as many people as I could just to learn, just having being new to starting a business. And one of the guys I talked to said, "Hey, have you thought about running social media for companies?" And I quickly said, "No, that's terrible. Why would I even want to do that? That sounds horrible." And he said, "Well, you should look into it. There's some good money into it." And I just kind of dismissed it. And one of my clients, lo and behold, asked me, "Hey, have you ever done social media?" And I said, "Well, from what you're paying me, I'm going to learn." So, so I learned how to run social media and figured out, what, there is a revenue stream here that I just didn't see before. And we made
Mhm.
a pivot with our business model to focus on um, doing social media when no one else wants to, because everyone needs it. It's not just one sector of business. Literally every business needs to be on social media, and none of them want to do it. So
Yep.
we kind of found a niche there, and we just took it and ran with it.
Yep. Oh, I love it. And here you are with the studio and much better lighting and camera than I have. So there we go. I love it. Okay, so I do end every episode a little bit of. I knew we were going to go long. I knew it. I knew this was going to be a great. Actually, I
Did
didn't know
we?
it. I might have. Well, I'm at 38 minutes now,
Oh
and I
my goodness.
usually aim to end it at that. So we're rolling. I haven't even done the rapid round. Actually, I didn't know for you. This could have turned really south into I really hate Joe, and I might have been trying to beg for every minute to end the thing, and it didn't go that way. So I'm happy about that. Um, but I do a rapid round, just a few quick questions that mean nothing. There's no right or wrong answer unless I have an opinion of my own, in which case there could be a wrong answer. Now, this is a higher ed based podcast. Now, obviously, you don't work in higher ed, but so everyone gets the same first question. I don't know how this is going to go. Usually, people answer because they work for a school when they're a guest. But what is your colleges are about tradition? What is your favorite college tradition?
I grew up Catholic, and so Notre Dame was,
Wrong answer. Oh.
that was the standard for me, and I love everything about just the
Touchdown Jesus and
traditions.
everything.
Yeah, but even the gold and the
Together.
greens and the navies and the colors and it's just something about it.
All right, all right. I will let it pass only because I've screwed you over in the past, so you can let that one go. I mean, you can't say that to a USC alum, okay? All right now. All right now. Usually, the second question has something to do with when I come visit and we go out for food. Well, I'm very familiar with the food there. Is there a secret spot there that I need to know about? Like, do you go, is it ribs? Is it the whatever? When I do come out, where are we going? Because I do miss my Texas barbecue.
Well, as you know, California Mexican food's different than what we have here in Texas. We have
Mhm.
what's called Tex-Mex. Okay.
Yeah.
And there is I don't know the last time you've been to town, but there's a restaurant here in Dallas that just opened. It's of your fine dining level. It's called the Mexican, and
Okay.
it's fine dining, authentic Mexican food. Um, Best steaks and chops you could ever imagine. Fish, incredible. They have a tequila wall, and they have a cigar ring.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
fantastic place.
All right. All right. The Mexican. All right. And it's in
That's it.
Dallas or Fort Worth?
It's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas. All right. We got to go in. All right. Let's see. Next. All right. Well, let's In-N-Out or Whataburger? There's only one right answer.
So I'm going to say In-N-Out.
Correct answer.
So I remember my first In-N-Out experience, which was the first time I went to LA back in 2003. It was 2003, and it was fantastic. Now there is an In-N-Out down the street from my house, so you kind of lose the
Yeah,
aura.
the nostalgia goes away of it.
But there's no fresher burger than an In-N-Out burger, animal style.
Yes, yes. Okay, do you go with all right, so I have a rule when I take people to In-N-Out the first time that they are not allowed to order secret menu items until you have to go at least once. So you're allowed to order double, the regular double to fries. You got to have that first, and then I will introduce you. You can't come in as a virgin and expect secret menu. That's my rule. Is that a fair rule to have?
That's fair. I didn't do that, but I understand that. That's fair.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go to you. You mentioned everyone needs to be on socials. Um, I also know a lot of my AV people, my colleagues, are very that all they do is wear black, hang out in the back, and want to be introverts. What is the value you can do for your personal brand in leveraging social media?
It's all about building relationships. And the funny thing about social media is, even if you're just looking at someone's Facebook page, you might say that it's their highlight reel. It's
Mm.
the best of the best. And the reason for that, I believe, is because that person is simply trying to connect. We all just want to connect. I believe that's why we exist, is to connect with others. And so social media is really that platform where you can connect with anyone in the world and you can tell your story. Problem is, if you're a business, sometimes you don't really always hit it when it
Yeah,
comes to telling your story the right way. And that's where we come in to help.
yeah, that's good. If you had to pick one or two platforms only to be on to build your personal brand, which would they be?
YouTube, TikTok.
YouTube and TikTok, not LinkedIn for professional. You leave that one out. YouTube and
Oh,
TikTok.
for professional, yes. But to
Okay.
build your personal brand,
Brand.
YouTube and TikTok.
YouTube and TikTok. All right. YouTube shorts and stuff, or posting podcasts like this?
Both long form content. Where else in marketing can you have a captive audience for a 1 hour podcast? It just doesn't
Yeah.
exist in marketing terms. So just think of it that way. The
Hmm.
YouTube shorts, great little bite-sized teasers, leaves people wanting more. But that long form content, that's where it's at, man.
Yeah. All right. I love that. I might be doing something sort of right. I like that. All right. See, almost validation. All right. And okay, last one. All right. So everyone gets the same last question too. This will be very ironic considering you do content creation. Um, this is you just get 1 minute. Pretend you had your own podcast or show, which you do this now and do these things. You get 1 minute to do your own monologue. You can talk about any topic you want. If you had your own show, how would your monologue go? And your time starts now.
Don't be afraid of favor. When you feel like you have favor, it's not something you've earned. It's something that you have been gifted. You take it and run with it.
Love it. See, so to the point. See, now that will make a good little snippet for social. See, you've got that down and the right pauses. And actually, there is one last question, and it is the most important. Everybody, this goes to the audience. If you really are looking to build your brand, and I know you are because that's what kind of started this, you need to reach out to Raul and connect with him. Just a great human, first off. So make sure you follow him everywhere. I will put a couple links to his Miguel Studios on the show notes and all. But can you tell people how they could get a hold of you if they want to be able to connect, use your services, and really just get to know you better?
Yeah, check out our Instagram, Miguel Studios FW, that stands for Fort Worth, or you can go to our website, miguelstudios.com, and learn all about us. We post a lot of pictures so you can see behind the scenes of what we're like.
You are doing great stuff. Raul, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm glad that I'm smiling at the end of this, which is, you just get great insights. And it really, just to be honest and say, glad we've been able to stay in contact 26 years now, which is crazy. And it's been awesome to see your growth and development as well. And just seeing where we've both come through, and this really almost feels very full circle. So I do thank you for the time. Yeah, this is fantastic. And everybody, this was episode 1 of this 6-part series that I'm doing. Hopefully you enjoyed this. As always, none of the opinions expressed here are necessarily those of any of our respected institutions, companies, sponsors, and really anyone who wants to sue us. If you want to sue us, it had nothing to do with you. Okay. You can pretend it did, but it didn't. And that's it. And if you didn't like these opinions, there might be better ones next time. Probably not, because Raul killed it. Absolutely killed it. Thank you, Raul. And everyone, we will see you next